Tonight on The Big Idea, a warrior's road to millions. U.S. military vets go from the battlefield to the boardroom. Business lessons from a Green Beret. An elite fighter at home behind enemy lines shows us the secrets for winning in an unlikely industry. Battle-tested, veterans of the Gulf War come back from Iraq to make tens, even hundreds of millions of dollars. And football's greatest warrior, Rocky Bleier. Shot up in Vietnam, he became the heart and soul of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now he's got a message for the newest troops coming home from war. Courage, discipline, teamwork. What can a vet teach you about success? Tonight on The Big Idea.
This is our country.
Welcome to The Big Idea, your daily roadmap to the American dream. I'm Donny Deutsch, and speaking of the American dream, no one deserves their share of it more than the people we have on the show tonight. These are true heroes, military veterans who risked their lives for America, and they came home, started companies, and made millions. And all of them will tell you they owe their success in business to what they learned in the military. So what exactly is that? And how those who don't serve, how can we learn those same military lessons for our careers? We're going to find out tonight. And my first guest took what he learned fighting Saddam Hussein's army and used it to build a $500 million company.
Retired Captain Glen Meakem, U.S. Army Reserve, combat engineer platoon leader in the First Gulf War. When Iraq invaded Kuwait in 1990, Meakem volunteered for active duty in the Gulf and shipped out to Saudi Arabia. His combat support unit was part of the Western sweep into Kuwait that helped liberate the country. When Meakem came home, he built Free Markets, an internet company that links businesses to suppliers. His group sold the company for about $500 million.
Captain Meakem, welcome to The Big Idea.
Thanks very much, Donny.
And thank you, sir, for doing the ultimate job. And I can't revere you guys enough, so just thank you.
Well, thanks. Great to be here.
Your story is one of phenomenal extremes, and you're a kid who grew up in Westchester, New York. Yep. Very patriotic family. Mm-hmm. And you basically got a ROTC scholarship to Harvard undergrad. Yep. So 8 years in the reserve. The story gets fascinating when first you come out, you go to work for Kraft, and now you're at Harvard Business School. And what happens?
What happened was I was working in the summer between first and second year of business school, and Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait, and I just thought it was just wrong. It was.
I don't know if these are exact words, but it says in the pre-interview, you said you were just really pissed off. Good for you. As we
I actually wrote an article where I said that. Yeah. Right. It was just, the guy was a dangerous guy, and he was threatening Israel, and he was taking. He had attacked Iran. He had taken over Kuwait, and it was just wrong. And I was in Boston. And there was a lot of anti-war, not terribly anti-military, but a little bit of that kind of sentiment. Gotcha. And some of the sentiment was, well, we can't ever go to war because only the poor people in our society are in the military. And I'd been in the military through the 80s. I knew that wasn't true. There were people like me who had opportunity, who had an education, who were willing to serve. The real bravest, who did have choices, frankly. That's true. That's true. And so I said, hey, I want to lead by example. I'm willing to lead by example here. I've had all this training. I trained as a combat engineer officer. I had all this qualification and training. I was like, I'm willing to serve. I'm willing to volunteer. So I did. I volunteered through my reserve unit I was in up in Boston. And then 3 months later, it's funny, that was in September of 90. 3 months later, nothing happened. I heard nothing from the Army. All of a sudden, I'm in the middle of my exams in December of 1990. And I get a call, at the time I was Lieutenant Meakem, this is Major so-and-so, would you, we understand you volunteered. There's a unit that needs an officer of your qualifications. Are you willing to come and serve? And I said, yes. In the middle of your exams? Middle of my exams. They said, you have 2 weeks, don't worry, get ready. The next day I got it back from my exam, the 2 exams I had in the morning, voicemail machine in my machine saying, you've been activated today, report into your unit. I got to talk to the camera because you talk about an extraordinary man. Here's a guy who was in his Harvard MBA program, a guy guaranteed to start out making six figures, going to millions, and volunteer to the Army. It doesn't make you any more of a hero than the guys who are less affluent. It just makes it a more unusual story. So it's fantastic. And you go over there, and while your classmates are taking their final exams, and what do you find over there? Tell me about your life over there. Well, four quick weeks to get ready. Mm-hmm. I was put into a unit that was a combat engineer unit. We got over there first week of January, so a couple weeks before the shooting started. And you know, just it was an extraordinary experience. I was there for 5 months. What we learned over there, though, is it's a big team effort.
Right.
You know, it really, war is a tremendous team effort. And you know, there were extraordinary experiences throughout. And I was in a combat support unit. So we were building POW camps, because we were doing road repair. We were doing all kinds of building ammunition supply points and supply roads. And my unit was deployed way forward in northern Saudi Arabia, helping get ready for that Western invasion of Kuwait and Iraq. And I remember the first night, though, I got up in our area where we were doing our work just the night before the night the bombing started, when we started the war. And you know, it was an extraordinary situation to be there with a lot of young soldiers, you know, incoming Scud missiles, you know, gas alerts, everybody with their chemical equipment on, and just being, you know, being in a position to help reassure people that, hey, we're going to be all right, we're going to get through this. But it was, you know, a lot of different projects all over just doing construction.
Were you frightened?
Everybody's frightened.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think anybody says they're not frightened. Everybody's frightened. It's a question of, I think, with the training you get and the experience, you learn to manage your fear.
What does that mean, manage your fear?
That means going on despite your fear. It means keeping your head. It's the same thing. You ever play football in high school or anything?
Well,
same thing.
Unorganized, but yes, okay.
But it's that you know, you're scared to go into the game, but you learn how to manage that fear and do your job anyway.
Right.
It's part of the team effort.
Let's move to something infinitely less important, but certainly very valuable for our audience here. You come back. And you're working for companies, and then you kind of figure out the company you started, which you eventually sold for $500 million, which, if I have it right, was basically a precursor to eBay, but for pretty much.
I think I actually founded my company was Free Markets.
Yes.
So what I figured out, I had been working as a consultant for McKinsey, and then I went to GE. I was at GE in 1994, and I was very interested in purchasing and how you purchase stuff better, creating competition between suppliers, doing supplier research, finding suppliers around the world so you get the benefits of, you know, Asian sourcing and, you know, global sourcing. Right. And what we figured out, myself and some others who I was working with, was that we could do the bidding process, the negotiating process online. So instead of having faxed and phone calls to get pricing from suppliers, we could bring people up online over the internet and have them bid interactively and create interactive
farm
auctions.
Equipment, for all types of major supply. So on a grand scale, what eBay does with little Beanie Babies.
Right,
or whatever.
On a grand scale. Metal parts, you know, plastic parts, electronic components. And so we started that, and I left GE in early 1995. Because it was just hard to get something new started within a large corporation.
A brilliant corporation, but there is a big difference between.
As great a company as GE
It's just different. That's the difference between being an entrepreneur and a corporation. Very simple.
So I took, you know, I recruited a couple people to join me. We started Free Markets in 1995. We went public in '99, had a $13 billion market cap at our peak. And then, of course, we crashed. Stock crashed in March of 2000, and then again in November 2000. But we, you know, despite the crash in the market, we kept building the company, my team and I, and we got it to almost $200 million in revenue, and we eventually sold it to another public company, Ariba.
It's a great story.
2004.
So what are the specific lessons? Obviously, you talked earlier on about being over there and leading people and whatnot that helped grow your business.
Well, you know, now I'm a venture capitalist. I started a firm called Meakem Becker Venture Capital. And what we do is we try to tell young entrepreneurs, you know, you got to be a really good leader. You know, lesson from the military, you got to know how to motivate your people. So it's, you know, you lead by example. You don't tell everybody what to do, and then you know, it's walking. It's very simple. It's walking the walk, not talking the talk. And we really stress that with people. I think also, you know, speed. There's a need for speed. One thing the military teaches, which is a great management principle, which is kind of the 70 or 80% rule. You know, you can overanalyze things. A lot of large corporations overanalyze and overanalyze. Hey, you know, get as many facts as you can on the table.
Make a decision and go.
Get 80% of the facts and make a decision and go. You know, a decision is better than no decision.
And you know what? I'll put the 70% rule. You know, you're going to be wrong 30% of the time. Who cares? Just you're right. As long as you're right more than you're wrong. Make the decision
and then you fix the mistakes. You know, the military teaches so much about people leadership, how to lead and motivate people. And part of that in the private sector, actually in the private sector you have tools, two tools you don't have in the military. One is compensation, which is a huge tool
I guess,
to motivate.
You can't give people raises in the Army.
You can't do that.
It doesn't work that way.
And the other one is hiring and firing. You can do a little bit of that in the military, but the ability to reward performance and then and reward those people who really contribute and ask the people who don't contribute to leave, right? And you know, a lot of the mistakes you make in business are people mistakes.
It's all people mistakes.
And so if you can correct those mistakes quickly, that makes a huge difference.
It's correct it.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, your story is a fantastic one, and I appreciate you being here. And once again, congratulations.
Thanks, Donny. I appreciate it very much.